the night as the villagers gathered outside Abdul's house. No one wanted to go near the kitchen. Even the bravest man stayed close to the doorway, gripping lanterns and whispering prayers beneath their breath. Smoke, smoke still drifted slowly from the broken kitchen window. Dark smoke, too thick, too heavy. It curled upwards into the sky like something alive. Abdul sat beneath the mango tree, holding Mariam tightly against his chest. She had regained consciousness, but she remained strangely calm, almost sleepy, as though nothing terrible happened. Inside the house, Mama Sade stood silently near the entrance of the compound, staring towards the kitchen. The old woman was feared and respected through the village. People said she understood things ordinary people could not. She knew the language of the spirits. She knew old stories. And most importantly, she knew when something unnatural had entered the world of the living. For a long time, she had nothing. She had said nothing. Then finally she spoke. The house must not be entered tonight. One of the men frowned nervously. But Abdul's belongings, they are no longer his belongings, Mama Sade interrupted. The wind blew harder around them. The lantern flames flickered wildly. Mama Sade slowly turned toward Abdul. You said your wife promised she is not going to feed it. She was not finished feeding them. Abdul nodded weakly. An old woman's face darkened. In the old days, she said quietly, our grandmothers warned us about spirits that gathered around hunger. The villagers listened silently. There are things beneath the world that feed on sorrow, feed on grief, feed on promises made by dying people. The, the thunder rolled across the sky. Mama Sade looked towards the kitchen window again. And when such promises are made with enough pain, sometimes something answers. Abdul's mouth felt dry. You mean that thing is not my wife? Mama Sade did not answer immediately. Finally she said, part of her may still be there. The words chilled Abdul more than the rain. The villagers left before dawn. Nobody wanted to remain near the compound after hearing what Mama Sade or Mama Sade's warning. Only Mama Sade herself stayed behind. She sat beside a small lantern outside Abdul's house, quietly grinding herbs inside a wooden bowl. Abdul watched anxiously. Mariam slept nearby wrapped in cloth blanket. You know what that thing is, don't you? Abdul finally asked. Mama Sade continued grinding silently. When I was a little girl, she said slowly, there was another village near the forest. Her voice sounded distant now, like someone remembering something terrible. A mother lost 3 children during the season of famine. Before she died, she begged the spirits to let her continue feeding her family. The wind rustled softly through the trees. For many nights after her burial, people smelled cooking from the hut. Fresh soup, fresh meat, fresh bread. Abdul swallowed hard. What happened? Mama Sade's hand stopped moving. One by one, people disappeared. Silence filled the compound. Even the insects seemed quiet. They later found cooking pots filled with strange black soup, and beneath the hearth, the old woman looked towards Abdul carefully. something sour and wet beneath it. Abdul nearly gagged. The kitchen looked worse than before. The walls were stained black with soot. Dark scratch marks covered the floor around the stove, and the cooking pot still sat over the fade burning charcoal. Mama Sade stepped closer carefully. Then her expression changed. There, she whispered. Abdul looked down. His stomach tightened. Footprints, not human footprint. They were so long, thin, too many toes. The marks circled around the stove repeatedly, like animals pacing food, like animals pacing around for food. Mama Sade slowly knelt beside the charcoal stove. Then she touched the ground carefully. Her eyes widened. The earth beneath is hollow. Abdul stared at her. What does that mean? But before she could answer, a sound came from inside the stove. A soft knock. Both of them froze instantly. Then another knock came, slow, deliberate, from beneath the fire. Abdul stepped backward immediately. Mama Sade's face became pale. The knocking came again. Knock, 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 knock. Something underneath the stove was trying to come upward. Then suddenly, Abdul turned. Then suddenly, Mariam's voice spoke behind them. You shouldn't disturb them while they are eating. Abdul turned sharply. Mariam stood in the doorway, rubbing sleep from her eyes. Mama Sade looked horrified. Child, who told you that? Mariam pointed calmly towards the stove. Mama did. The knocking beneath the charcoal suddenly became louder. The stove trembled violently. Ash spilled onto the floor, and then Abdul heard it. Whispers. Faint, many voices speaking together beneath the ground. Hungry voices. Mama Sade quickly grabbed Mariam and pulled her backward. We leave now. But the moment she said those words, the fire inside the stove exploded upwards. The room shook violently. The cooking pot crashed onto the floor, and thick black liquid poured across the clay. But it was not soup. It moved. The dark liquid twisted unnaturally, like living insects gathering together. Abdul stumbled backward in horror. Then, from deep beneath the stove, something laughed. A low, wet laugh, not human, never human. The walls of the kitchen began shaking. Dust fell from the ceiling. The whispers beneath the floor grew louder, and through the crack forming inside the stove, a long black hand slowly began reaching upward. Mama Sade screamed, "Run!" The three of them rushed outside just as the kitchen wall cracked loudly behind them. Villagers nearby began shouting in panic. Smoke burst from the roof. Dark smoke, thick as a storm cloud. Abdul grabbed Mariam tightly as they stumbled across the compound. Then suddenly, Mariam looked back towards the kitchen and smiled softly. Then suddenly, Mariam looked back towards the kitchen and smiled softly as though she recognized someone standing inside. And in a quiet voice, she whispered, "Mama is feeding them." What do you think about this story? Don't forget to follow for the next part of